Hello Slayers and Savages, welcome to Evil Speak. My name is David, I'm your host this evening. As most of you already know, I am European. You can tell by my accent I'm not from America. I've never even been in America, even though I'd like to. Ah yes, imagine me visiting the United States. I'm sorry, I get carried away sometimes. So, like I said, I am European. And as a European, I think it's my duty to inform you guys about my favorite European horror movies. Since not all horror movies are made in America or Japan. But for some reason, European horror never gets that much attention, even though we got a long history of making them. It goes all the way back to the 1910s. In this era, a lot of horror stories were made into movies. Take the story of Jekyll and Hyde for example. Most horror fans will say the story was first adapted into a movie in 1931, but truth is, it already existed as a Danish short film called, This. And it was released in 1910. Around the same time, more and more stories were made into movies. Even the big boys, Frankenstein and Dracula, got their shiny movies before Hollywood did it roughly 20 years later. Unfortunately, a lot of these ancient European horror movies don't exist anymore. There were no DVDs or VHSs back then, so movie reels were stacked in a stockroom somewhere until they started rotting away. But then there was a movie called Das Kabinett des Dr. Caligari, a German movie from 1920 often referred to as the first horror movie ever made. So yeah, it wasn't technically the first one, but it was the first one to get a worldwide audience and got people interested in scary movies. So Europe, and Germany in particular, started out strong, but over the years Hollywood took over. Europe became less and less relevant for the mainstream audience. Time to give some of these movies the attention they deserve. Now, before we get started counting down my picks, I want to make a few things clear. First of all, this is not an official list of best European horror movies ever made. It's just a personal list of the 10 movies I enjoy the most. If you don't agree with me, fine, it's all a matter of opinion. And 2, I'm only including one movie a country. It's only fair, because otherwise this video would probably be dominated by Italian movies, since they were kind of a big deal in the 70s and 80s. Oh, and by the way, this video is spoiler free. Finally! I'm glad you guys like what I do. That being said, sit back and grab your bag of Haagse hopjes while I present to you Evil Speak's top 10 European horror movies. Number 10, from Germany, Garden of Love. Like I said, Germany started out strong back in the 1920s, but more recently, I gotta say I don't know much German horror movies. Of course there was Necromantic from 1988, but I don't exactly count that one amongst my favorites. It also has a sequel, but I never saw it. And then there's this guy called Olaf Ittenbach, who directed modest cult classics like Prometheus, The Burning Moon and Legion of the Dead. Usually, I'm not a big fan of this man's work. I think his movies just aren't that well made or focus too much on the gore factor. Don't get me wrong, I love gore when it's done in good harmony with the rest of the movie, but more often it's just a lame excuse to draw people's attention.
Message!
But there is one exception in Mr. Ittenbach's work that I do like, and that movie is Garden of Love, released in 2003. The story is about a woman called Rebecca, whose father got slaughtered during a massacre of a hippie cult. Wait a minute, a hippie cult? I think I know who the killer is.
God fucking damn it!
Rebecca was only a child when it happened and has no memory about it. She grew up with her aunt and uncle and led a peaceful life. But as an adult, she suddenly gets visions of her father. To find an answer to these strange visions, she and her husband David go back to her place of birth, a place that does have memories about the massacre. Now, to be honest, some parts of this movie drag and the dubbing is done really badly.
Can't you see I've got some clients here?
Oh, sorry. I didn't want to interrupt.
They just wanted the best for you. And I think they made the right decision.
It also distracts me that the dubbing is done with a German accent. Like we have to be reminded this movie is from Germany. If they wanted to sound German, I don't know, maybe just don't dub it. But overall, I did enjoy this movie. Some scenes could be spiced up a little, but I don't think it's boring. It has a creepy feeling to it and the gore effects are pretty badass. What, you don't believe me? Behold, non-believers!
cannibalistic, animal sickness. Kick twisted scriptures for sadistic misfits. Spit vicious interest for villainous intents. Monstrous instincts, the killing is intense.
Okay, I'm gonna give you some time to empty your barf bucket. Ready? Well, let's continue. So yeah, Garden of Love definitely has a spot in my cool book. It's not a perfect movie, but to me it's enjoyable enough to earn a number 10 spot. Number 9, from Ireland, Shrooms. First of all, this is one of my favorite horror movie covers. At first sight, it's just a creepy shot of some mushrooms, but the moon in the background makes it look like a skull. Now, this idea has been done numerous of times before, but this is my favorite one. The movie is about a bunch of young people who are on a trip to Ireland. And why, you may ask? Well, to get fucked up on magic mushrooms, of course. You know, I've always wondered.
A few moments later.
I'm feeling nothing. Nothing at all. How about you?
I'm feeling nothing, me lad.
So they take the mushrooms, but while they're tripping, a vicious killer starts hunting them. I know this sounds like just another slasher in the woods, and in a lot of ways it is, but believe me when I say it's got some elements to it that are quite original. The woods and the use of colors give it an eerie atmosphere, and it constantly switches between tripping and real life, which makes you trip along with it. There's a tiger in my room! The movie gives you a feeling of paranoia, and it has some effective scary moments. This, however, is not one of them.
Hello?
Well, well, well.
You could talk.
That's 'cause you're out of your mind.
You, is she a girl?
She went that way.
Thanks.
What were they thinking? It's so out of tone with the rest of the movie. But hey, what's a movie about magic mushrooms without at least one silly moment? We don't get to see much of the killer, and that gives you a lot of opportunities to guess who or what it is. I won't reveal the killer's identity because I promise no spoilers, but let's just say it gave me a nice little WTF moment. Just go see it for yourself. My only advice is, don't take mushrooms while watching this movie, or else you might end up like this. Number 8, from Iceland, Harpoon. This movie, also known as the Reykjavik whale-watching massacre, is kinda like the Icelandic answer to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. Notice the subtitle is very similar. And like that isn't enough, we got Gunnar fucking Hansen starring in it. And if you don't know who Gunnar Hansen is, that's the guy who played Leatherface in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And it's so appropriate because he originally is from Iceland. Also, the plots of these two movies are alike. Here we have a bunch of tourists on a whale-watching trip in Iceland. But after a freak accident, the captain dies and the group gets stuck on the open sea. Luckily, after a while, they get saved by a fisherman and live happily ever after. No, of course not. Don't you know what fishermen are up to in horror movies? So yeah, they get kidnapped and all hell breaks loose. Now I admit, this is nothing original. The kidnapping and torture thing has been done to death. Pun intended. But it's just done so damn well. The boat they've been taken to looks really spooky, and together with the sea and the Icelandic landscape, it gives you a feeling of total isolation. This works in the movie's advantage. The tourists are stuck on an isolated place, far away from any form of authority, while the bad guys are in their own territory. At least in movies like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Wrong Turn, you can run off in the woods and see how far you can get. In this movie, escaping is damn near impossible. There are no stereotypes or over-the-top characters in this movie, so it feels really legit. Combine these facts and you'll get a total serious and creepy movie that makes you think twice about going to this country. So what if the nature is breathtaking? And so what if the world's most beautiful girls live there? Ah yeah, that's right, the beautiful girls. Fuck it, I'm going anyway. Number 7, from Sweden, Evil Ed. Remember when I told you that Shrooms had one silly moment? Well, this movie is one silly moment. It doesn't take itself serious, like, at all, and it's among my favorite horror comedies in general. The plot is about a movie editor called Ed who spends his days editing the most boring and harmless movies. One day, his boss gives him the assignment to edit a horror movie franchise called Loose Limbs. He even offers him his remote vacation home so he can work in peace. But Ed isn't used to these kind of movies, and the constant looking at gore makes him slowly lose his shit. He sees stuff that isn't there and eventually starts killing people. What's extra fun about this movie is that it references a lot of other horror movies. Like these posters you see throughout the whole thing, the boss's name being Sam Campbell, an obvious mix between Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, and there's even a gremlin in his fridge. I guess it's true what they say.
'Cause you never can tell. There just might be a gremlin in your house.
Also, I'm saying fridge because refrigerator is fucking hard for me to say. Unfortunately, the movie does have some dull moments. The scenes in the vacation home can be a little long sometimes. But when Ed turns into Evil Ed, shit goes off the wall and it doesn't disappoint. Evil Ed. I guess watching horror movies does turn people into psychos. Number 6. From Holland, Amsterdam. Yes, finally a movie from my own country. Now, we don't have a lot to choose from over here. But we do have some good and successful horror movies, like The Lift, The Johnsons, Slagnacht and Sint. We even have some cult horror, but most of it is just really bad. Amsterdam is one of the more successful Dutch horror movies, made by the legendary Dick Maas, in the prime of his career when every movie he made became a hit. The plot is about a cop who tries to solve a murder mystery. A murderous diver is attacking random people in and around the famous Amsterdam canals. Nobody knows who it is or why he does what he does. So the cop has to work hard and fast to stop this maniac. Even though the movie takes place in Amsterdam, a lot of it is shot in another town called Utrecht. Most notably when the lead character is chasing the killer in a speedboat and hit a terrace. Now, as far as I know, Amsterdam doesn't really have these kind of terraces. Utrecht on the other hand is famous for it. But if we ignore this little piece of inconsistency, it's a fun movie. Filled with hot action, suspense and cool chase scenes. It's a typical whodunit detective slasher movie, but with an undeniable Dutch twist. And by that I don't mean tulips, windmills or smoking joints, you just get a nice look at Amsterdam. Or Utrecht. Or whatever, fuck it, the movie's cool. Number 5. From Austria, Dead in 3 Days. Okay, I admit, this is a movie that's obviously ripping off I Know What You Did Last Summer. The plot is basically the same. We have the students who all went their own ways, they get killed by a mysterious murderer, you know the drill. Hell, even the backstory is almost identical. Oh shut up, you should have seen this coming when I said it's ripping off I Know What You Did Last Summer. But the correct way to describe this movie is, this is what I Know What You Did Last Summer should have been. Don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those people who hates I Know What You Did Last Summer, but it has a depressing feeling to it. And I get why the characters feel that way, but I don't want to share that feeling while watching it. Well, this movie gets rid of that feeling and it's a lot more easygoing. It's not a feel-good movie, not by a long shot, but I think it's a lot easier to watch. I also think this movie is a lot more heavy on atmosphere. The whole thing just oozes with creepiness and mysteriousness. And I take creepy and mysterious over depressing any day. It's not a gory movie and it's not about stabbing and gruesome kills, but that doesn't mean these people get it quick and painless. We're dealing here with a killer who dumps his victims in a lake with an umbrella stand. Now that's fucked up. I almost want to say forget about I Know What You Did Last Summer. To me, this is the superior film. So sorry Hollywood, you may have had the idea, but us Europeans did it better. Please don't kill me. Number 4. From England, The Wicker Man. No, not that one. The Wicker Man. There you go. Fucking remakes. Okay, I do have to say I love the location in the remake. This island looks beautiful. That being said, this movie sucks ass! Nicolas Cage acts like he doesn't know what the fuck is going on, it's full of plot holes and things that don't make sense, and the whole thing just feels rushed. So, can such a shitty remake be based on a good movie? Of course it can, and I wouldn't mind seeing a remake of it if done by someone who respects the source material, instead of cashing in on the recent popularity of remakes.
Message!
The plot is about a cop, played by Edward Woodward, who is traveling to a deserted island to investigate the disappearance of a young girl. At first the island looks just a little strange, but the cop soon discovers he's in the middle of some kind of cult, led by the mysterious Lord Summersisle, played by the late Christopher Lee. The movie is pretty slow and the Scottish accents can be tough to follow. Well, at least for me they were. It keeps your attention and you do care about what's going on. All actors do a good job, and to me this is one of Christopher Lee's better roles. I guess it's a little less known, but I think it's right up there with The Man with the Golden Gun and Saruman. Dracula is still king though. So yeah, I definitely recommend this movie. As far as the remake goes, I recommend you do this. Man, cool people keep on dying recently. Number 3, from Italy, Cannibal Holocaust. Yes, I know, this movie is vulgar, it's shocking, it's violent, it treats women and animals like shit. And it's fucking awesome. Okay, let me explain. Sure, it's the most banned movie in the world, being banned in 53 countries. But if you can look past the disturbing parts, it's a damn well made movie. It's about a film crew who travels to the Brazilian jungle to make a documentary about native tribes. They vanish without a trace, and after a while a professor is sent to go look for them. He manages to find their bodies and gets his hands on the material they shot. The rest of the movie is just him viewing the footage, and it's not for the faint at heart. These guys were assholes. They weren't interested in making a good documentary, they just wanted to raise hell. And if you act this way, chances are you get what you deserve. And I know, I promise no spoilers, but this movie is called Cannibal Holocaust. You know bad shit is going down when the movie's title is a combination of two of the most disturbing words in the English language. Besides it being controversial, it opened doors for movies like The Blair Witch Project and Wreck, who also used the found footage method. I know the real life animal killings are fucked up, but that doesn't mean the movie is bad. Don't get me wrong, I despise it too, but it's just the dark part of it. By the way, did you know the director of this movie, Ruggero Deodato, is that cannibal guy from Hostel 2? That's just funny. Although everyone knows I am the actual director of this movie. Don't believe me? Well, check this out. A few months ago, I met Ruggero Deodato at a convention. I bought this book about his movie career, which he signed for me, and this is what he wrote. To David, the director of Cannibal Holocaust. When the movie was released, Mr. Deodato was arrested because the authorities thought it was a snuff film and that he really killed the actors. He had to prove in court that they were still alive and he had to reveal his special effects. Now that's some publicity you can't buy. Even after all these years, Cannibal Holocaust is a notorious movie. Most people will know this as that disgusting movie that killed animals and went too far with the violence. But if you give it another, more open-minded chance, you'll see it's a damn good movie, especially for its time. It's well written and impressively put together. It's just not for everyone. Just like the other movies in this top 10. Or the movies that I review for that matter. But hey, if you don't like these kind of movies, I guess there's plenty of Sound of Music reviews to find. Number 2, from Norway, Next Door. Oof, that cover. Okay, let me start out by saying Norway has put out some awesome horror movies in the past decade. Movies like Called Prey and Troll Hunter would definitely make this list if I would include more than one movie a country. But if I had to choose, and I did, this movie would be my favorite. The only thing I gotta say is, I'm not sure if I would count this as a real horror movie. Sure, it has that reputation and most people define it as horror, but to me it felt more like a psychological thriller. It kinda reminded me of The Machinist, which is one of my favorite movies in general. Nonetheless, it's a creepy movie that keeps you in that what the fuck is going on vibe. The story is about a guy who just got left by his girlfriend. One day, his sexy neighbor asks him to help remove a closet. He agrees, and from that moment on, he's stuck in a weird nightmare. The girl and her sister won't let him go and they play all kinds of mind games with him. He gets tortured both physically and mentally, and you really feel his pain while watching it. He doesn't understand what's going on, he just wants to leave. But for some reason, he can't. As a watcher, you get the feeling you're stuck in there with him and you try to figure out what's the reason behind all of this. Now again, I can't tell you too much without giving away crucial plot points, but believe me when I say this is a gem. I do want to make a joke about this movie, but it's so serious and uncomfortable that I don't know how to make fun of it. Look, a unicorn! Number 1! From Spain, Who Can Kill a Child? Why do I never hear people talk about this movie? There's tons of killer kids films, but when people list their favorites, you always hear the same titles. Village of the Damned, The Bad Seed, The Good Son, Children of the Corn. Well, I got a secret for you. This movie blows them all to kingdom come. Who Can Kill a Child is about a British couple who are on vacation in Spain. A man called Tom and his pregnant wife Evelyn. They decide to visit a small island called Almanzora.
Almanzora.
Well, excuse me. When they get there, the whole island seems to be deserted, with the exception of some kids. Strange thing is, the stores and restaurants look like they're open, but there's just nobody around. When they finally realize what's going on, it's too late. A group of diabolical kids killed all the adults on this island, and they have no plans of letting these adults on their territory. But hey, who can kill a child?
He said it! He said it!
The movie has a very slow build-up, and if that's not your thing, I get it, but it's so well done. It's never boring, and it keeps you in a chokehold. It's all so mysterious, and you're genuinely curious about what's going on at the island. There are not a lot of on-screen kills, but a good horror movie doesn't need that. Did The Shining have a lot of kills? No. Did Poltergeist have a large body count? Not even close. The same goes for this movie. Even with a low body count, it's entertaining from beginning to end. It's well executed, it's scary, and that's all a good horror movie needs to have. If you haven't seen this, give it a watch, you won't regret it. And that includes my top 10 European horror movies. If you want to list your favorites, feel free to do so in the comment section below. I'd love to read your thoughts. And I know it's always more fun to talk about bad movies, so that's why next time I'll be taking a look at one of the worst movies out there. For now, I leave you with some honorable mentions in the end credits, so make sure you stay a little while longer. I see you all later.